After the Fantastic Beasts film came out, it left many fans with even more questions about the Harry Potter series, like why wasn't Harry an Obscurial with all the abuse he suffered at the hands of the Dursleys? With her return to the Wizarding World, J.K. Rowling introduced new characters and a few new magical terms to the Harry Potter universe, one of which is the Obscurus, a magical being produced by a young witch or wizard who can't control their powers. The first experience we have with an Obscurial is in Fantastic Beasts with the Obscurus that Newt separated from a Sudanese girl, and of course we know that Credence Barebone was also an Obscurial. Now, of course, there is also the theory that Dumbledore's younger sister Ariana was an Obscurial too. Dumbledore and his brother constantly spoke of her emotional issues and rages in the Harry Potter books, with magic exploding out of her, but it never goes into the specifics as to how those issues manifested themselves. But there is a large amount of speculation that it was due to her being an Obscurial. We know that a magical child can become an Obscurial if they have suffered extensive emotional trauma and are ultimately forced to suppress their magic. This has ultimately led many to question why Harry was not an Obscurial given his situation with the Dursleys. There are, of course, crucial differences in Harry's situation and Credence's, which explains why Harry never produced an Obscurus. An Obscurial is developed under very specific conditions, that being trauma associated with the use of magic, internalized hatred of one's own magic, and a conscious attempt to suppress it. Although the Dursleys attempted to keep Harry in the dark about his abilities in the hope that they'd just evaporate, Harry didn't grow up ashamed or afraid of his magic. In fact, he never really even knew it was there. So whilst Harry may have suffered trauma at the hands of the Dursleys, it was not necessarily associated with the use of magic, at least not that Harry was aware of. Harry therefore was missing the main element that is necessary for the creation of an Obscurial, becoming ashamed or afraid of his magic. Even when he was scolded for making things happen, he didn't make any attempt to suppress his true nature, nor did he ever imagine that he had the power to do so. He simply didn't understand it at the time, thinking that the events that had happened were just happy coincidences. So it seems like shame and fear of magic are the primary catalysts to a child producing an Obscurus. And since Harry wasn't raised to feel ashamed of what he was, he never became an Obscurial. This would presumably also apply to Tom Riddle, who had his own history of neglect and lack of love to link him to Harry Potter and Credence, but to our knowledge was not raised to feel ashamed or afraid of his abilities. So it is clear that without fear or shame, no Obscurus can develop and make a child an Obscurial.